I didn't realize how much money dictated everything until I had none of it. I'm 26. I work 2 jobs. One is at a grocery store, stocking shelves overnight, lifting heavy boxes while my lower back throbs. The other is part-time freelance design work I scrape together online. On paper, I'm making it. I'm paying rent on a 1-bedroom apartment I share with a guy from college I barely speak to anymore. I'm paying for my own groceries, my phone, my student loan minimums. I'm not homeless. That should count for something, right? But I'm tired all the time. And not just physically. It's like I'm breathing through a straw that keeps getting narrower. Every month, my rent goes up by some cost of living increase. Every week, the price of eggs or bread creeps up a little more. Last month, I had to choose between paying my internet bill or buying my anxiety meds. I chose the internet, because if I miss another freelance deadline, I might lose my contract. I skipped the meds. It wasn't the first time. I told myself I'd be fine. I wasn't. People talk about budgeting like it's a solution. Like if I just cut the extra stuff, I'd be okay. But there is no extra. I haven't eaten out in months. My clothes are all thrifted. My idea of luxury is buying oat milk instead of the cheapest generic kind. My therapist, when I could afford one, called it survival mode. She said it's a state where your brain can't think long-term because it's too busy making sure you don't drown today. It's hard to explain to people who've never lived this way. The mental weight of constantly calculating. Can I afford to take the bus today, or should I walk the 5 miles? If I skip breakfast, can I stretch the groceries another day? I don't think anyone should have to choose between doing laundry and buying tampons, but here I am, carrying my dirty clothes in a backpack to work so I can wash them in the employee break room sink. What makes it worse is this sense that I was promised something else. I grew up believing in hard work. My parents did too. We weren't rich, but we got by. I went to college, was told that was the ticket out. Took out loans because I had to. Invest in yourself, they said. So I did. I studied graphic design, poured my heart into it. Interned for free. Worked side jobs. Graduated with honors. But there were no job offers. Just contracts. Gigs. No benefits. No security. Just hustle. Endless hustle. And the thing is, I like my work. I love designing. Making something out of nothing. Creating clean, elegant interfaces that actually help people. But most of what I do now is templated social media junk for companies that pay the bare minimum and expect 24/7 availability. I feel invisible. Replaceable. I used to dream bigger. I wanted to start my own studio. Maybe teach design someday. Travel. Write a book. But all those things require time, stability, breathing room. I can't even afford to get sick. I've worked shifts with a fever, just to keep up. I ration shampoo. I don't go on dates. I can't afford another person in my life. Not really. My friends don't really know. Not the full extent. Some of them still live with their parents, some are doing better, tech jobs, healthcare, union gigs. We talk, and I nod and smile, but sometimes I feel like I'm watching their lives through glass. I'm falling behind, and the shame of that is heavy. It makes me quiet. Makes me lie by omission. Say things are okay when they aren't. My coping strategies? I write in a journal. I take walks at night when the streets are empty and I can pretend the city belongs to me. I listen to podcasts about people who survived worse and made it out. Sometimes, I buy a lottery ticket, not because I believe I'll win, but because for 5 minutes, I get to imagine what it would feel like not to be afraid. Hope is a tricky thing. It flickers. Sometimes it burns bright when I land a good gig, when a client says they loved my work, when I see an old professor share my design on LinkedIn. Those moments keep me going. They remind me I'm not lazy or stupid or undeserving. just stuck in a system that was never built to let me thrive. And yeah, I'm angry. I'm angry that working 60 hours a week doesn't guarantee you can live. I'm angry that people say just save more when I have nothing to save. I'm angry that being talented isn't enough. But I'm also still here. I wake up every day and try again. That has to mean something. Some nights, I let myself dream. I picture a small apartment of my own, with light and plants and shelves full of books. I imagine making enough to only have one job, to take weekends off, to get my prescriptions filled every month without calculating trade-offs. I imagine designing for causes I believe in. I imagine resting without guilt. Maybe it's not much. But it's mine. Until then, I'll keep going. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. I used to think that if I worked hard, kept my head down, and made smart choices, I'd be okay. That's what they tell you, right? Do the right things, and you'll eventually make it. But now, sitting in my tiny apartment with the hum of the refrigerator louder than it should be, I'm starting to realize that doing everything right doesn't mean you get ahead. Sometimes, it just means you survive. I'm 27. I work full-time at a marketing agency. It's not a bad job. The people are fine, the work is interesting enough, and on paper, I should be comfortable. But I'm not. Rent eats up nearly half my income, and after student loans, groceries, utilities, insurance, and an endless stream of small but constant expenses, there's barely anything left. Most months, I feel like I'm just passing money through my hands, like it's not mine, just something I get to hold for a moment before it flows into someone else's pocket. I live in a city that's getting more expensive by the day. Coffee went from $3.50 to $5 in what felt like a blink. My rent's gone up every year since I moved in, and my salary? A 3% raise last year that didn't even touch inflation. I calculated it the other day, I'm technically making less now than I was 2 years ago. That realization hit me like a punch to the gut. I just sat there staring at my budget spreadsheet, thinking, how is this sustainable? It's not, of course. That's the thing no one wants to say out loud. We're all walking this tightrope, pretending we've got it under control. My friends and I joke about it, laughing through our panic. We swap tips on the cheapest groceries, share discount codes, send each other TikToks about financial hacks that feel like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. There's this quiet desperation under all of it. None of us are really okay, but admitting that feels like failure. I've started saying no to dinners out, even if it's just $20. That $20 might be the difference between affording my prescriptions or not. I canceled my gym membership, even though exercise was one of the only things helping my anxiety. I stopped seeing my therapist when the copays became too much. I miss her. She helped me feel like I wasn't going crazy. Now I just try to talk myself down from spirals, sometimes successfully, sometimes not. I used to have dreams. Big ones. I wanted to travel, to write a book, maybe start my own business one day. I wanted to buy a little house with light pouring in through the windows, a cat curled up on the couch, and shelves full of books. Now my dreams are smaller, quieter. I dream about a month where I don't have to use my credit card to buy groceries. About paying off one of my loans. About not waking up in a panic at 3 a.m., wondering how I'm going to make it to next payday. Sometimes I feel ashamed. Like I did something wrong. But deep down, I know this isn't just about me. It's systemic. It's the rent prices, the stagnant wages, the student loan interest rates that feel like punishment. It's the way everything keeps costing more while we're told to be grateful for opportunities. I know people who work 2 or 3 jobs and still can't breathe. And it's not because they're lazy or bad with money. It's because the math doesn't work anymore. Still, I try to find small things that keep me going. I make coffee at home in the mornings and sit by the window for a few minutes before logging on to work. I listen to music that reminds me of who I used to be before everything felt so heavy. I read library books and let myself get lost in someone else's world. I write, when I can, in the margins of my lunch breaks or on sleepless nights. I write not because anyone will read it, but because it reminds me I'm still here, still trying. There's a particular kind of loneliness that comes with financial stress. It isolates you. You pull away from people because you don't want to admit how bad it is, or you're afraid they won't understand. You start measuring your worth by your bank account balance. You wonder if you're falling behind, or if maybe the finish line just keeps moving. But I'm learning to be gentler with myself. To understand that surviving is not a failure. That even though this isn't the life I pictured at 27, it doesn't mean it's worthless. I still have people who love me. I still laugh. I still hope. I don't know what the future holds. I don't have a 5-year plan anymore. But I do have this moment, and in this moment, I'm doing my best. That has to count for something. If you're reading this and you feel the same way, stretched thin, overwhelmed, tired, just know you're not alone. This system is not built for us to thrive. But still, somehow, we keep going. It's strange how normal it feels to be broke all the time. Like, it used to scare me, checking my bank account and seeing $14.27 2 days before payday. Now it's just Tuesday. I'm 27. I work full-time at a marketing firm downtown, one of those modern places with exposed brick and kombucha on tap, like the aesthetics can cover up the fact that half of us are barely making rent. My title sounds impressive, content strategist, but after taxes and student loans and rent and utilities and everything else that leaks money like a sieve, I might as well be making minimum wage. Rent went up again last month. $110 this time. My landlord sent the email like he was doing me a favor, still below the neighborhood average. I wanted to scream. Instead, I emailed back, thanks for the update, and spent the rest of the night recalculating my budget while eating instant ramen. Again. People talk a lot about budgeting like it's a magic solution. Cut lattes, skip takeout, make coffee at home. Like it's my indulgences that are the problem, not the fact that my rent is 61% of my income. I could eat rice and beans every day for a year and it wouldn't cover one emergency room visit or a blown tire on my car. It's like running on a treadmill that's speeding up, and someone's throwing bricks at your feet while yelling, "Just run smarter." Some days I wonder what it would feel like to just breathe. To open my banking app without clenching. To get groceries and not add things up in my head as I walk through the aisles. I know the price of bread at 4 different stores. I track sales like it's the stock market. And even then, I can't remember the last time I bought fresh berries without feeling guilty. I used to have dreams. That sounds dramatic, I know, but I did. I wanted to travel. Not like quit my job and become a digital nomad travel, just a week in Italy. Or Japan. I wanted to walk through markets, taste things I couldn't pronounce, get lost on purpose. Now I dream about stability. About having an emergency fund. About owning a mattress that wasn't from Craigslist. I postponed grad school 3 times. The interest on my undergrad loans grows faster than I can pay them down. Sometimes I feel like I'm in negative motion, aging, working, stressing, and somehow getting nowhere. It's like I've been paying rent for a decade and have nothing to show for it but anxiety and an overworked coffee maker. My coping mechanisms aren't always healthy. I doom scroll at night until my eyes hurt. I spend too much time comparing myself to people online, even though I know it's all curated. I push friends away when they invite me out because I'm too embarrassed to admit I can't afford a $17 cocktail. But I'm trying. I budget. I freelance on weekends, writing SEO blog posts about things I don't care about, 10 ways to improve your gut health or best mattresses for side sleepers, Because every extra $50 helps. I sell clothes I don't wear anymore. I take surveys for pocket change. I hustle. Always. Some nights I cry. Just sit on my floor and let it happen. I don't even always know why, just the weight of everything, pressing. Like I'm being slowly crushed by something invisible and systemic and inescapable. Other nights, I light a candle and put on music and try to trick myself into feeling peace. I call my sister, who's in the same boat. We laugh about it, because if we don't, we'll drown in the silence. It's not all bad. I've learned to be resourceful. I've learned gratitude, even if it's sharp-edged. I appreciate the small things more: free community events, a friend cooking dinner, finding a $10 bill in an old jacket pocket. But there's a constant hum in my brain: you're not doing enough. You should be further along. You're falling behind, ****. I don't know when that started. Maybe when I graduated into a shaky job market. Maybe when I watched my parents downsize their home because of rising property taxes. Maybe when I realized that middle class was a moving target I might never hit. I'm not lazy. I know that in my bones. I work hard. I'm smart. I'm capable. But the math doesn't add up anymore, not just for me, but for so many of us. We're told to save, to invest, to build wealth, but how do you build anything when your foundation is cracked and your tools are borrowed and every storm threatens to knock it all down again? I still have hope. It's quiet and cautious, like a candle in the wind, but it's there. I want to believe that things will shift, that someday, I'll feel ease. Not luxury. Not excess. Just ease. I want to wake up and not feel dread. I want to look at my future and see possibility, not just survival. I want to say yes to things: travel, grad school, love, without wondering if I can afford it. Maybe that's the most radical dream of all, to live without fear of the next bill, the next emergency, the next rent hike. To just live. Until then, I keep showing up. Keep working. Keep hoping. Keep breathing. I used to think I'd have my life figured out by 25. That's what we were told, right? Graduate, get a decent job, start saving, maybe even travel a bit before thinking about settling down. But I'm 27 now, and the truth is, I feel like I'm barely keeping my head above water. I work full-time at a marketing agency. It sounds better than it is. The pay is just enough to cover rent, bills, and groceries, on the good months. On the bad ones, I'm transferring the last $20 from my savings just to make it to payday. And savings? That word doesn't mean what it used to. It's not a nest egg. It's more like a lifeline I keep dipping into, hoping it doesn't run dry before I catch a break. Rent went up again last month. Not much, $75, but when your budget is already stretched thin, that feels huge. I considered moving, but the cheaper places are in areas I wouldn't feel safe in, and moving itself costs money I don't have. So I stayed. I just cut out more things. No more streaming subscriptions. I switched from name-brand groceries to the store brand. I stopped meeting friends for drinks unless it's happy hour. I sold some old clothes online. I stopped contributing to my student loan payments for now. Just the minimum. What really stings is how constant it all feels. Every time I feel like I might be able to breathe, like when I got a small raise last year, something new shows up to take that air away. A dental bill. My car needing a new battery. A friend's wedding I can't afford to attend, but also can't stand to miss. I feel like I'm playing a game where the rules keep changing, and no matter how hard I try, I can't win. I used to dream about going back to school. Maybe getting a master's in something I really love, like creative writing or psychology. But the idea of more debt is suffocating. I already owe more in student loans than I make in a year. The interest feels like a punishment for daring to want an education. I don't even open the emails anymore. They're just reminders of how trapped I am. My friends are all in similar boats. We joke about it, laugh over cheap beers in someone's living room because none of us can afford to go out. But behind the jokes, there's this quiet desperation. We all feel it. Some have moved back in with their parents. Some are juggling 2 or 3 side gigs just to afford life. One friend started doing delivery at night after his day job. Another sells handmade jewelry on Etsy just to cover gas. I try not to let it crush me. I make lists. I plan my meals down to the dollar. I use budgeting apps religiously. I try to focus on small wins, like paying off a credit card or making it through a week without dipping into savings. But emotionally, it's draining. There are mornings when I wake up and just lie there, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I'm going to make this work long term. I feel like I'm running a marathon in circles. Dating is hard too. I don't feel like I have anything to offer someone. How do you build a future with someone when you can barely afford your present? I want to be able to take someone out, not just invite them over for ramen and a Netflix password I share with my sister. I want to build a life, not just survive one. And still, somehow, I keep going. Part of it is pride. Part of it is the tiny flicker of hope that maybe things will change. Maybe I'll find a better job. Maybe the system will shift. Maybe I'll win a freelance client that changes things. I hold on to that maybe like a life raft. It's not always enough, but some days it keeps me moving. Sometimes I imagine the life I thought I'd have. A small but cozy apartment I actually like. A dog. Maybe a partner. A job I enjoy that doesn't leave me stressed and underpaid. Enough money to take a weekend trip without guilt. A savings account with more than 3 digits. I used to think that wasn't asking for much. Now it feels like a fantasy. I don't need to be rich. I just want stability. I want to wake up and not feel dread when I check my bank account. I want to buy groceries without mental math. I want to stop living on the edge of every paycheck. Most days, I keep that to myself. People don't talk about money unless they're doing well. Struggling is something we hide. It's considered shameful. Like it's our fault. Like we're lazy or made bad choices. But I went to school. I worked hard. I followed the rules. And I still ended up here, juggling bills and wondering how long I can keep this up. I don't know what the future holds. I still have dreams, I haven't let those go completely. But they've been put on a shelf. Maybe one day I'll take them down, dust them off, and try again. But for now, I'm just trying to survive. Trying to find small moments of peace. A walk in the park. A good book. A phone call with my sister. Those little things help. I guess if there's anything I've learned, it's that I'm not alone. Even when it feels like it. So many of us are out here, trying, struggling, hoping. And maybe that's something. Maybe that's enough to keep going. It's like living in a constant state of waiting. Waiting for a break, waiting for relief. But I've realized lately, there is no break. No relief. It's just one endless loop of surviving. The money comes in, and it feels like it's already spent before it even hits my account. Rent, groceries, bills, student loans, everything has its hand out, and they don't wait for me to be ready. I'm 24. I thought by now I'd have a clearer picture of where my life is heading, but I don't. It feels like I'm still stuck in this space of trying to climb, but every time I get close to the top, I find myself sliding back down. I can barely make ends meet, and every new month feels like another round of juggling what I can afford. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever get a chance to breathe, or if I'm just going to keep fighting for the next paycheck. The economic environment is unforgiving. Every day I feel the pressure of it. Inflation, rising rents, the cost of living, it's all a weight on my chest. The prices of everything are rising, faster than my income can even keep up. I used to be able to buy a nice meal out with friends. Now, I'm the one looking for coupons and asking if we can go somewhere cheaper. Even when I do treat myself to something small, like a coffee or a movie ticket, I can't help but feel guilty. It's like I'm always walking this line, trying to keep balance but knowing I could tip over at any moment. I'm constantly making trade-offs. What can I sacrifice this month? Is it my car payment or my phone bill? Do I need to skip a couple of meals to be able to afford gas? Or maybe I could borrow some money from my parents again, even though I know they're struggling too. It's not a conversation I like having with them, but sometimes it feels like the only option. They've already given me so much, but I don't know how to get myself out of this hole. They say they don't mind helping, but I see the worry in their eyes. It's like they're living my stress too, but they just keep pretending everything is fine. I remember when I graduated college, I had this dream of what my life would be. I thought I'd be independent by now. I imagined I'd have a job I actually loved, and I'd be able to afford my own place. But instead, I'm stuck in this job I'm barely holding on to. I thought things would get better after I finished my degree. Instead, they feel worse. The degree didn't matter much. All that mattered was whether I had enough work experience, and somehow, I didn't have enough. So, I settled for anything, really. I'm grateful I have a job at all, but it's not what I hoped for. And it's certainly not enough to get me where I thought I'd be. But even if I did get a better job, I still wonder if it would matter. It's like the system is set up to keep me struggling. I've heard people say that if you work hard enough, you can make it. But honestly, I'm starting to think that's just a myth. Every time I feel like I'm making progress, there's another setback. A surprise medical bill, an unexpected fee, or an increase in rent. My dreams, my hopes for a better future, are always a little bit further out of reach. And the thing is, I'm not even sure what that future looks like anymore. My goals seem to shift constantly. I've had to put off traveling, buying a house, or even investing in my passions. All the things I thought I'd get to do by now seem impossible. There are days when it feels like I'm in a constant state of worry. My mind never fully shuts off. I'll be lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, calculating how much I'll have left after this next bill is paid. I feel myself getting tired of it all. Tired of having to be on guard all the time, like I'm constantly balancing on a tightrope. Every time I make a decision, I feel the weight of it, knowing that one wrong move could set me back even further. I can't even afford to take a break because when I do, it feels like everything will come crashing down. I cope, though. I've learned to laugh about it sometimes, even though it's not really funny. A small part of me clings to the hope that things will turn around, even though I'm not sure how. I remind myself that I'm not the only one going through this. I talk to friends who are struggling too, and it helps to know that I'm not alone. We all joke about how we're just adulting our way through this mess. But the truth is, none of us really know what we're doing. We're just figuring it out day by day, hoping that somehow it'll all make sense. I've tried to focus on what I can control. I've started cooking more, finding ways to make meals last longer, and cutting back on unnecessary expenses. I take public transportation instead of driving, even though it eats up more time. I've learned to be resourceful, finding free events or using community programs to get by. I keep a spreadsheet of my expenses, tracking everything, no matter how small, so I can see where my money is going. It's exhausting, but it helps me feel like I'm doing something. Sometimes, I feel like if I just work harder, things will get better. But deep down, I wonder if that's just an illusion. I've put off so many dreams. I don't know if I'll ever get to travel the way I want to or have the time to write a book like I've always wanted. Even something as simple as having a few weeks of peace feels impossible. I've had to push down my feelings of frustration and disappointment because what choice do I have? I can't afford to stop or even slow down. Every day feels like a race against time and expenses. It's hard not to feel resentful, but I try not to. It's not the world's fault, I tell myself. It's just the way things are. It's not fair, but that's the reality. And yet, I keep hoping. I hope that one day, something will change. Maybe I'll land a better job, or maybe the cost of living will finally slow down. Maybe I'll figure out a way to make my dreams come true, even if it takes longer than I planned. I try not to let myself lose hope completely, because that's all I've got sometimes. But there's this lingering fear that if nothing changes, I'll be stuck in this cycle forever. Stuck in a system that's designed to keep people like me fighting for scraps, never quite able to reach what's just out of grasp. But for now, I just keep going. I take each day as it comes, even if it's hard. I hold on to the little victories, like paying off a small debt or managing to save a few dollars. And I remind myself that even though I'm struggling, I'm still here. I'm still fighting. That has to mean something. Right? I wake up to the sound of my alarm blaring, just like every morning, except today it's not the gentle buzz of a regular weekday. It's louder, more intrusive. Maybe it's the pressure that's already building in my chest, making every little noise feel like an attack. But I can't lie in bed anymore, it's already too late to press snooze again. I need to get up, go to work, and face another day of living in a world that feels like it's speeding past me while I'm stuck in place, trying to catch my breath. I get out of bed, my body dragging behind me like it always does. It's funny, because when I was younger, I used to dream about being an adult, how exciting it would be to have my own place, a steady job, and the freedom to do whatever I wanted with my money. I didn't know then how much it would cost, how heavy the weight of all the little decisions would be, each one tied to some kind of price tag, some kind of invisible thread pulling at me from every direction. I'm already thinking about the rent as I shuffle to the bathroom. The bills are always on my mind, even when I try to escape them. My landlord is nice enough, but that doesn't change the fact that my apartment is small and overpriced. A one-bedroom in a neighborhood I can't really afford but can't escape from either. If I move farther out, I'll spend hours commuting, and that's just another cost, my time. I keep telling myself that it'll get better, that maybe in a year, I'll be in a different situation, but I know deep down that's a lie. The cost of living just keeps going up, faster than I can keep up. I look at my reflection, but I don't really see myself. Instead, I see someone worn down by all the little choices, the quiet sacrifices. I feel the heaviness of it all, like my skin is too tight. My rent is due in 2 weeks, and I've already set aside the bulk of my paycheck for that, which means no room for anything else. No new clothes. No nights out with friends. No saving for the future. It's like I'm running a race where the finish line is always just out of reach. Breakfast is a blur. I pour the last of the cereal into a bowl, trying not to think about the fact that it's the only breakfast food I have left. I'm already mentally calculating the groceries I need to buy, how much I can afford without tipping over into debt. It's ridiculous, isn't it? That I'm here, a 25-year-old trying to stretch every dollar, trying to stay afloat in a world where inflation feels like it's eating everything I earn. I wonder if I'll ever get ahead, if the dream of owning something, anything, will ever come true. Or if I'll be stuck in this cycle forever. Work is the same as always. I sit at my desk, a little cubicle that feels like a cage. I try to focus, but my mind keeps drifting to the bills, the rent, the student loan payments that come in every month like clockwork. My paycheck is already spoken for before it even hits my account. It's like I'm trapped in a system where I'm never allowed to breathe, where every decision I make comes with a price. I see the other people around me, some of them older, some of them more successful, and I wonder if they feel the same way. Do they ever wonder how they got here? Did they ever dream of more and now have to suppress it, bury it deep down to survive? I try not to complain, though. I have a job. I have a place to live. A lot of people don't. But it doesn't stop the constant pressure, the feeling that I'm doing everything I can and still barely keeping up. It's like I'm running on a treadmill, pushing my legs as fast as they can go, but the machine won't slow down. The hardest part isn't even the money itself. It's the feeling that I've had to give up so many things just to make it through each month. My dreams of traveling, of saving for something bigger, of investing in a future that feels more like a fantasy than a reality. I used to picture myself in a cozy home, maybe with a garden, maybe with a dog, and a steady job that I loved. I used to imagine my life with room to breathe, not just survive. But now, that picture feels more and more distant, like something I'll never reach. Even with friends, it's hard to keep up. We all joke about being broke, about living paycheck to paycheck, but I can see it in their eyes, the same anxiety, the same worry. We all want to be happy, to have fun, but I can't justify spending money on things like dinners out or weekend trips when I know I'll be paying for them later with more stress, more guilt. So I stay home instead. I make the choice to cut back, to pull in the reins just a little tighter, hoping it'll get me ahead somehow. But sometimes, in the quiet moments, I wonder what it would feel like to just stop. To not worry so much about the next bill or the next payday. To not have to calculate every decision with a dollar sign attached. I wonder if that's even possible anymore, or if I've already crossed some line where that kind of freedom is just out of reach. I try to stay positive, though. I tell myself that I'm doing the best I can. That things will get better eventually. But how long can I keep saying that? How long can I keep pretending that all this is normal, that struggling is just part of life? There are days when I feel like I'm drowning in a sea of expectations, both from the world around me and from myself. I want to be more than this. I want to be successful, not just in my career, but in my life. I want to be able to look at the future and see something I'm excited about, not something I'm scared of. It's hard to admit, but sometimes I wonder if I'm ever going to get out of this. If I'll always be stuck in this cycle of working, paying bills, and just trying to keep up. I don't want to give up on my dreams, but I also don't know how to hold on to them when the reality feels so different from what I imagined. The weight of it all is exhausting. So, I keep moving. I get through the days the best I can. I look at my bank account and feel the familiar knot in my stomach. I look at my dreams, tucked away in the corner of my mind, and remind myself that they're still there, even if they feel far away. Maybe one day, things will get better. Maybe one day, I'll be able to breathe again. But for now, I take it day by day, trying to survive in a world that feels like it's constantly changing and leaving me behind. And somehow, that has to be enough. For now. I wake up to the sound of my phone buzzing on the nightstand. It's 7 a.m., and it's time to start another day. The first thought that crosses my mind is always the same: how am I going to get through today? It's not about the work ahead or the tasks I need to complete, it's about the weight of everything else, the bills, the rent, the groceries. They're always there, looming in the background, like a cloud I can never shake. I drag myself out of bed, feeling the heaviness of my body, and try not to think too much about how much I'd rather sleep. I pull on the same clothes I wore yesterday because buying anything new feels like a luxury I can't afford. My jeans are worn at the seams, and the fabric is starting to fade. But they fit, and they'll have to do. I don't have the money for new ones, anyway. Not with rent due in 2 weeks and a credit card bill still hanging over me like a guillotine. As I stand in front of the bathroom mirror, brushing my teeth, I catch a glimpse of myself. I look tired. Not just physically tired, but like I'm wearing my exhaustion like a second skin. The circles under my eyes are deeper than I remember. I haven't had a good night's sleep in months. It's hard to sleep when your mind is racing about how you're going to pay for things, how much longer this can keep going on. I stare at my reflection for a moment, wondering when it became this hard to keep it all together. I want to be proud of how much I've managed to do on my own. But today, like most days, all I can think about is how I'm barely keeping afloat. The stress of everything is like a constant hum in my brain, never quiet, always there, demanding attention. It's exhausting. By the time I get to work, my stomach is growling. I didn't have time for breakfast, but that's okay. I've learned to ignore hunger pains when they come. I can't afford to eat out or grab a coffee on the way to work. A granola bar from home is enough to keep me going, and even that feels like an unnecessary expense. I can't help but feel a little defeated when I see people around me grabbing their $5 lattes without a second thought. For them, it's just part of the routine. For me, it feels like a reminder of everything I can't have. The job itself isn't terrible. I work in an office doing customer service, and I'm grateful for the stability, even if it's not what I imagined my life would look like. I used to have big dreams of moving to a city, starting my own business, maybe even going back to school. But every time I think about those dreams, I feel like I'm suffocating. I know they're not realistic anymore. At least, not right now. Instead, I find myself getting through each day by simply surviving. I punch in, I answer calls, I deal with the endless stream of problems people throw my way, and then I clock out. The day drags on, but I keep telling myself that at least I'm making it through. When I finally get home, the weight of the day hits me all at once. My apartment is small, cramped, and poorly lit, but it's mine, though sometimes, I wonder for how much longer. Rent's gone up again, and I don't know how I'll manage to pay it next month if things keep going the way they are. My paycheck doesn't stretch as far as it used to, and every time I try to make a plan for the future, I feel like I'm running into a wall. There's no room for mistakes. One missed payment, one unexpected expense, and it all starts to unravel. I've had to skip doctor's appointments because I couldn't afford the copay, and I've stopped buying clothes altogether because, well, they're just not necessary. I wear the same few outfits until they fall apart. The worst part is the guilt. I feel guilty for not being able to save. I feel guilty when I hear about friends going on vacations or buying new things, while I'm here counting pennies and hoping I can make it through the month without overdrafting my account. There's this nagging feeling that I should be doing more, that I should be better at handling this. But the truth is, I'm doing the best I can, and it's still not enough. I keep telling myself that one day, things will get better, that eventually, I'll find a way out of this cycle. But as time goes on, I start to doubt myself. It's hard not to when the cost of living keeps rising while wages stay stagnant. Every time I get a small raise, it feels like it's already been eaten up by rent, utilities, or food. The system feels rigged, and I'm stuck on the wrong side of it. I've stopped dreaming in the way I used to. I don't imagine buying a house anymore or living in some chic apartment in a downtown area. I don't think about quitting my job to start my own business or going to school to get a degree. All of those things feel so far out of reach. I've learned to adjust my expectations. Now, my dreams are smaller, more manageable, things like paying off a credit card or getting through a week without feeling the crushing weight of my financial worries. I've learned to cope in small ways. I walk more instead of driving to save on gas, and I've cut out any unnecessary subscriptions. I try to cook meals at home, but sometimes it feels like a losing battle. Even the basics, rent, groceries, utilities, are a constant challenge. And when something unexpected comes up, like a flat tire or a doctor's visit, I feel like I'm about to sink. But the hardest part is the loneliness. Not in the sense that I don't have people around me, I do, but they don't fully understand. How could they? They aren't living with this constant pressure. They don't wake up each morning wondering if today will be the day they get that email, that notification that their account is overdrawn. They don't know what it's like to look at a paycheck and feel like it doesn't belong to you because it's already spent in your mind before it even hits your bank account. I wonder if things will ever change. I try to keep a little hope alive, but the truth is, I don't know. The future feels uncertain. It feels like I'm stuck in a system where the rules are set against me, and I'm running faster and faster just to keep up. And no matter how hard I try, I can't seem to get ahead. The most I can do is take it day by day. I remind myself that I'm not alone, that there are others who are in the same situation, struggling, hoping for something better, trying to figure it all out. But sometimes, it's hard not to feel like I'm drowning. I'm doing everything I can, but it never seems to be enough. Maybe, one day, things will get easier. But for now, all I can do is hold on. I try not to think too far ahead, because the future feels too overwhelming. Instead, I focus on getting through today, and then tomorrow, and then the next day. It's not much, but it's all I can do. For now, I just keep swimming. The alarm rings. It's 7 a.m., but it feels like I've been awake for hours. My eyes blink open, heavy from the restless sleep I seem to always get now. I don't remember the last time I didn't feel like I was constantly carrying something on my shoulders, like I'm always standing in quicksand, but the more I try to move, the deeper I sink. I roll over and grab my phone. Another notification. Bills unpaid. Rent, utilities, credit card debt, each one staring back at me like an insurmountable wall. I didn't even have enough to cover groceries last week, and now there's more piling on top. My heart sinks a little more, and I swallow hard, trying to push the panic down. I can't afford to let the panic out. Not now. I pull myself out of bed, throwing on clothes I've worn too many times. I take a quick look in the mirror. I can see the exhaustion in my eyes, the dark circles that have become a permanent fixture. I look older than I am. 24, but I feel like I'm living like I'm 35. Some days, I feel like I'm drowning, like I'm just trying to keep my head above water, but the waves keep coming faster and harder. The bills, the rent, the looming possibility of my student loan payments coming due. It's all too much, and yet, it's my reality. I head into the kitchen to make some coffee. My stomach growls, but I know that the money I'd need to make a proper breakfast just isn't there. I settle for the coffee and try to remind myself that I can't waste food, something I've been hyper-aware of lately. It's not just about finances anymore, it's about survival. I take my coffee with me to the couch and scroll through my phone. Looking for jobs, but everything seems like it's out of reach. I check my bank account for the 5th time this morning, hoping the balance somehow grew while I was asleep. But no, it's the same as yesterday. Barely enough to cover the gas, let alone anything else. I've been here too many times before, checking, rechecking, hoping for a miracle that never comes. It's a routine that feels both hopeless and suffocating. But I can't stop trying. I can't stop looking. I apply to whatever I can, part-time gigs, freelance work, anything that'll give me a little extra breathing room. But the reality is that the economy isn't forgiving. It feels like every time I take one step forward, there's something pushing me 2 steps back. The cost of living keeps rising, while the wages stay the same. Every time I get a little closer to stability, an unexpected expense knocks me down again. The day drags on. Work is the same, it's a service job, one I've had for the past 2 years. It's physically draining, mentally exhausting, and at the end of the day, I still don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. I try to stay positive, reminding myself that at least I have a job, but the truth is, it barely pays the bills. I go through the motions. I smile and serve, answer questions, help customers. I clock out at the end of the day and try not to think about how much more I need to do just to stay afloat. When I get home, I'm tired, so tired, but I can't just fall into bed and sleep. There are still things to do. I start cooking something simple for dinner, the same few ingredients I've been rotating for weeks. Ramen noodles. Rice and beans. It's hard to admit, but there are days when I wonder if I'll ever get out of this cycle. Some days, I want to scream at the world for setting things up this way, for making it so hard to just live without constantly worrying about money. But I keep it inside. I keep it all in because what's the point of complaining when there's no one to hear? After dinner, I sit at my desk, the one I've had since college, and try to focus on my side hustle. It's a small writing gig that pays just enough to make me feel like I'm not completely failing, but the payments are slow. And even then, the money is never enough to cover the growing list of expenses. It's a constant balancing act, trying to stretch every dollar, trying to figure out how to make ends meet while the world around me keeps moving forward, leaving me behind. I look at my dreams sometimes, those hopes I had when I graduated, when I thought I could make something of myself. I wanted to travel. I wanted to create, to write full-time, to see the world. But all of that feels so far away now, like a different life I'll never get to live. I can't even afford a plane ticket to visit family in another state, let alone take a vacation. And it hurts, it really does. Because I can see the life I want, and I can feel it slipping further and further from my grasp. It's frustrating. I want to believe that things will get better. I want to believe that I'll get a raise, or that one of these job applications will finally come through. I want to believe that I won't have to keep putting my dreams on hold just to survive. But when you're stuck in a system where the cost of living keeps outpacing what you can earn, hope starts to feel like a luxury you can't afford. Sometimes, I wonder if this is it. If this is just the reality now, and there's no way out. I think about my parents, how they struggled too, and how they always said it would get better, just hang on. But the older I get, the more I realize that getting better doesn't always happen. The pressure, the exhaustion, the constant worry, it's all real. I don't want to be trapped in this forever, but right now, it feels like I have no choice. I try to hold on to small victories, like when I manage to make rent on time, or when I find a coupon that saves me a few bucks at the store. But even those moments feel bittersweet. I know it's temporary. I know I'm just barely scraping by. I try to remind myself that I'm not alone. That there are so many people in my position, doing their best to stay afloat. But sometimes, that just makes it worse, because I realize that the system is broken for so many of us. That so many of us are just trying to make it day by day, barely holding it all together. Tomorrow will be another day of the same. Another round of trying to survive, of trying to find some peace amidst the chaos. And maybe one day, things will change. Maybe I'll find a way to make it work, or maybe I'll have to find a new path altogether. But for now, I keep going. I keep working, keep trying, because what else is there to do? I can't give up, not yet. But, God, sometimes it's hard to hold on when it feels like everything is slipping through your fingers. Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. I wake up at 6:30 a.m. every day to the sound of my alarm blaring. It's a sound I've grown to hate, not because it's jarring, but because it's a reminder. A reminder that I'm not where I want to be. Not yet. I roll over, squinting at the light coming through the blinds, thinking about the day ahead, and I can already feel the weight of the pressure building up in my chest. I live in a cramped apartment with peeling paint on the walls and the faint smell of mildew in the air. Rent is due in a few days, and I'm still scrambling to make the numbers work. There's always something, an unexpected bill, a payment I've missed, or a price increase on something I didn't even think would cost that much. It's like I'm on this constant treadmill, just trying to keep up, but the pace keeps getting faster and faster, and I can't seem to catch my breath. It's the end of the month again, and I'm already running low on funds. I check my bank account as I sip my coffee, hoping, as I always do, that I've miscalculated, that maybe there's a mistake, that somehow I've got more money than I think. But of course, there isn't. My balance stares back at me, barely enough to cover essentials, let alone the luxury of actually enjoying life. I swipe through my phone, looking for deals on groceries, trying to make every dollar stretch. It's like a game I didn't ask to play, but here I am, and every move counts. I know that I'm not alone in this. I've heard the stories, everyone's got them. But it feels like I'm caught in the middle of something bigger than me. The prices for everything have skyrocketed, from gas to groceries to rent, and yet my paycheck barely covers the basics. The cost of living keeps growing, but wages? They're stuck. Sometimes I wonder how anyone is making it work. How are people managing to save? How do they afford to take vacations or buy new clothes without drowning in debt? Some days, I wonder if I'll ever get out from under this weight. I try to be hopeful, but it's hard when it feels like the world is working against me. I used to dream of starting my own business, of traveling, of moving to a place with more space, but those dreams seem so far out of reach now. They feel like something I'll never be able to touch, not with this cycle of earning and spending and barely scraping by. I try to find moments of relief. A walk in the park, an afternoon with a book, a weekend spent binge-watching Netflix and pretending that the weight of my bills doesn't exist. But those moments always feel temporary, like they don't truly fix anything. I can't shake the feeling that my future is slipping away, like I'm stuck in this holding pattern where nothing changes, and no matter how hard I work, it's never enough. I don't talk about it much. I'm embarrassed, honestly. When people ask how I'm doing, I smile and say, good, just busy. The truth? I'm exhausted. I'm tired of feeling like I'm always behind. Tired of feeling like I'm one missed paycheck away from falling apart. Tired of doing the math in my head over and over again, calculating what I can afford and what I have to give up. I don't even know what success looks like anymore. I used to think it was about getting the perfect job, making enough money to live comfortably, and eventually, having a family or buying a house. But now, I'm not so sure. Success feels like something that's out of reach for someone like me. Like the world has set up a game that only a few people can win. Most of us just keep playing, not really moving forward, but trying not to fall behind. I find myself thinking a lot about the future, but it's hard to imagine anything beyond the next few months. I put off getting a better car because it's just not a priority right now. I put off starting my own business. Who has the money to invest in something like that? And I put off big life decisions because it feels like I don't have the resources to make them. Every choice feels like a balancing act, and I'm always teetering on the edge, wondering when the other shoe will drop. There's a voice in my head, though, that tells me I just need to be patient, that things will work out eventually. Maybe it's the kind of optimism I need to hold on to. But some days, that voice feels like a lie. How long am I supposed to keep waiting for things to get better when every day is the same struggle? How long before I admit that maybe things won't ever change, that maybe I'll always be struggling like this, just trying to survive and get by? But then, every so often, there's a flicker of hope. A little reminder that I'm still here, still trying, still pushing forward even when it feels impossible. The small wins, getting through a day without worrying about a late fee, finding a coupon for something I need, or even just surviving a week without going into the red, those moments remind me that I'm not completely out of options yet. Maybe one day, I'll look back and realize that the grind, the struggle, the exhaustion, it wasn't forever. Maybe one day, I'll have something to show for it. I dream about it. I dream about a day when I can breathe, when I can live without that constant gnawing anxiety, when I can pay my bills and still have money left over to do things I actually enjoy. I dream of having a job that doesn't feel like a dead end, of traveling to places I've only seen in photos, of being able to share a meal with friends without worrying if I'll have enough to cover the check. But for now, I'll keep going. I'll keep waking up every morning and doing what I can to survive, because that's what it is, really, it's survival. It's hoping that one day, things will shift. It's putting one foot in front of the other, even when it feels like the road ahead is impossible to see. Maybe, just maybe, the future will be different. Or maybe, I'll learn to find peace in this moment, in the struggle. Maybe it's all part of the journey. And so, I keep going, because what else is there to do? The future is uncertain, but the present is all I have, and it's all I can control. That's what I hold on to. It's hard to explain the weight of living like this, always watching the numbers. I try not to think about it too much, but it's always there, hanging in the background like a low hum that never quite goes away. I wake up and it's the first thing I check: how much is in my bank account today, what bills are due, how much I can stretch this paycheck. Every move I make is calculated, every decision a balancing act. I'm 26, and I've been living paycheck to paycheck for as long as I can remember. I've worked since I was 16, picking up shifts in retail and doing whatever I could to stay afloat. But lately, it's been harder. I feel like I'm getting swallowed by something bigger than me, like no matter how hard I work, I can't keep up. Rent went up again last month. Another $100, just like last year. I know it's coming, I know that's how things go, but it still hits me like a slap every time. I work 40 hours a week at a customer service job, but my salary doesn't keep up with inflation. It feels like my income is stuck, while everything around me just keeps growing. Gas, food, utilities, it all gets more expensive, but my paycheck barely stretches enough to cover the basics. And then there's the debt, student loans, credit cards, a car loan. The numbers keep climbing, and I feel like I'm drowning. Some days, I wake up and it feels like the world is too big for me, like I'm just a small part of this massive, impersonal system that doesn't care. The bills pile up, and there's this gnawing sense that no matter how hard I work, it'll never be enough. Sometimes, I think about what I could be doing instead, what I would be doing if money weren't always at the center of every decision. I used to dream about traveling, about seeing the world and experiencing different cultures. I had these grand plans, backpacking through Europe, volunteering in South America, just getting away and living life on my terms. But those dreams are so far out of reach now. I can't even afford to take a weekend trip to the beach, let alone fly halfway across the world. Instead, I stay home, in my small, overpriced apartment, making do with what I have. I remember a few years ago, when I had a little more flexibility, when I could afford to go out with friends or grab dinner without checking my bank account first. I'd get drinks on a Friday night, maybe treat myself to a new pair of shoes, or even go to a concert. But those days feel so distant now. Going out for dinner is a luxury I can't afford. I've stopped seeing my friends as often because it's too much of a financial strain. I'm always the one who suggests staying in. It's easier that way. Even my emotional well-being has taken a hit. There's this constant low-grade anxiety that follows me around. The feeling that something will go wrong, that the car will break down or I'll get sick and miss work, and then I'll be really in trouble. I lie awake at night sometimes, scrolling through my phone, looking at other people's lives, wondering how they manage it. Everyone seems to have it together, buying homes, going on trips, posting their perfect lives on social media. And here I am, just trying to make it to the end of the month. There's this sense of guilt that comes with not being able to provide the things I want for myself. I want to do more, to build something, to feel like I'm moving forward, but it feels like I'm stuck in this hamster wheel. And it's not just me. I see it everywhere, in my friends, in my coworkers. We're all just doing what we can to survive, but survival feels like such a small ambition. It's exhausting, honestly. I keep telling myself that I'll get there someday, that things will improve. But the longer this goes on, the more I wonder if that's just something I tell myself to feel better. There are days when I just can't see the end of this tunnel, days when I feel like my future is slipping through my fingers. I try to remind myself that I'm still young, that there's time to make it happen, but the clock seems louder when you're on this side of things. It's hard not to feel like you've failed, even when you're doing everything you can to keep going. And I know I'm not alone. Everyone my age is going through this. I hear the same stories from my friends, working 2 jobs, picking up extra shifts, struggling with rent. We all laugh about it, trying to keep the mood light, but underneath it all, there's this unspoken weight we all carry. No one's getting ahead. No one's thriving. We're all just surviving. The emotional toll this has taken on me is something I can't quite describe. There's a numbness that's started to settle in, a kind of resignation. I try to hold on to the hope that things will get better, but it's hard to be optimistic when everything feels so uncertain. The future seems like a distant dream, and I wonder if it will ever be within reach. I try not to get too down on myself, to focus on the small victories, like getting through a month without a major crisis or finding a way to save a little bit here and there. But those moments of relief are fleeting. The anxiety creeps back in, and the cycle starts all over again. There are days when I try to escape, when I binge watch a show or scroll endlessly through social media just to distract myself. But even then, I know I'm just avoiding the inevitable. The financial pressure is always there, lurking in the background, reminding me that it's never really over. And then I wonder, what happens when I'm older? What happens when I've been in this system for 10, 20, 30 years? Will I ever break free? Or will I just keep working harder, only to find that the goalposts have moved even farther away? There's a kind of existential dread that comes with that thought, a feeling that I'll be stuck in this endless cycle forever, with no way out. I don't know what the future holds, but sometimes, I dream about a life where money doesn't control everything. A life where I can take a breath, go for a walk without worrying about gas prices, or buy something just because I want it, not because I budgeted for it. I dream about stability, about being able to take care of myself without having to stress over every little decision. But for now, I just keep going. I wake up, I go to work, I pay my bills, and I try not to let the weight crush me. There's a part of me that still holds on to hope, that maybe, one day, things will change, that I'll find a way to escape this cycle. Until then, I'll keep doing what I can to stay afloat, hoping that maybe, someday, I'll be able to breathe easy again. I wake up to the sound of my phone vibrating against the nightstand. The clock reads 7:30 a.m. My eyes are heavy, still trying to fight off the sleep, but the buzz of reality pulls me into the day ahead. I roll over and swipe at my phone, the notifications flooding in like a river I can't control. Emails, reminders, messages, all a reminder of what I owe and the pressure that's been building for what feels like forever. I know what's coming. The bills. The late fees. The feeling of constantly falling behind, like I'm on a treadmill that's speeding up faster than I can keep up with. I stretch out my legs, trying to ignore the knot in my stomach. My fingers tap the screen to silence everything, then I sit up, rubbing my face. I've been trying to ignore it all, trying to avoid that moment where everything hits me at once, but it's here again. It always is. I grab my jeans from the back of the chair and pull them on. The day starts the same way it always does. I make a cup of coffee, because it's the only thing that gets me through the day without crashing into a heap of exhaustion. I used to care about what I ate, but now, breakfast is just something I do out of habit, not out of pleasure. A banana if I'm lucky, or some cereal if I can afford it. I used to get excited about food. Now, I just get anxious about the next meal. Work has become a place where I feel like I'm spinning my wheels, doing just enough to get by without burning out completely. It's not that I don't want to do my job well. I do. But every time I feel like I'm starting to get ahead, another bill lands in my inbox, another unexpected cost eats away at my savings. They say money can't buy happiness, but it sure feels like it can buy peace of mind, and that's been out of reach for so long now. I drive to work, my old car creaking with each turn. I've been meaning to save up for something more reliable, but there's always something else more urgent. The tires on the car are probably going to need replacing soon, but I can't even bring myself to think about that right now. One thing at a time, I tell myself. Just get through the day. Get through the next hour. Paycheck to paycheck, every single week, and even then, I'm not sure it'll be enough. By the time I get to work, I feel like I've already run a marathon. I can't shake the nagging feeling in the back of my mind that I'm failing, even though no one said anything. The constant comparison to everyone else eats at me. I hear people talk about their vacations, their weekend plans, their new gadgets or cars, and I can't help but feel like I'm living in another world. A world where none of this financial struggle exists, where things just work out. But that world is so far away from mine. When I sit down at my desk, I'm already thinking about how to make my paycheck stretch. It's a game of Tetris, trying to fit all the expenses into my budget, and the blocks never quite line up right. I've been working extra hours here and there, picking up side gigs when I can, but it's always just enough to cover the basics. There's never room for anything extra. Never enough to get ahead. Never enough to breathe. And yet, I keep going. I have to. What other choice do I have? I don't know how to quit this cycle, even though some days it feels like the weight of it all is too much to carry. I think about my dreams, the things I wanted to do, the life I thought I'd have by now. I used to want to travel, to write a book, to learn a new language, to explore the world in ways that felt possible. But now, those dreams feel like distant memories, like a part of me that's been buried under the reality of how much it costs just to live. Every time I think about them, I get this pang in my chest, this sharp feeling of regret and loss. But what can I do? I tell myself that someday I'll get back to it. Someday, when things are better. I try to push that thought away because it feels impossible. If I'm being honest, I don't know if I'll ever get there. Maybe that's the hardest part, knowing that the future I imagined is slipping away, slowly but surely, and I can't do a thing to stop it. At lunch, I sit alone in the break room, staring at my sandwich, peanut butter and jelly, the cheapest thing I could make. I don't even enjoy it. I used to savor small pleasures, but now everything feels like a chore, a thing I have to get through. I scroll through my phone, looking at social media posts of people who seem to have it all together, who've taken trips or bought new clothes or moved into beautiful apartments. And I wonder what their secret is. How do they afford these things? How do they seem so relaxed? I hate feeling like I'm stuck in a loop of scarcity. That everything I do is a short-term fix, not a solution. I'm tired of feeling like I'm just surviving, just scraping by, and watching my hopes get buried under the weight of bills. I used to tell myself that hard work would pay off eventually. But now, I'm starting to think maybe that's a lie. The world doesn't seem to reward people like me anymore. Not the ones trying to climb the ladder, not the ones hustling from paycheck to paycheck, not the ones who have to decide between eating well or paying rent. When I leave work, it's the same story. I get home, kick off my shoes, and feel the exhaustion in every muscle of my body. The house is quiet, the weight of loneliness pressing in. I try to unwind, but it's hard to forget about the never-ending pile of stress that hovers above me. I've been trying to save, but no matter what I do, there's always something that breaks. The dishwasher. The internet bill going up. The gas prices. The cost of groceries. Everything keeps growing faster than I can keep up with. And every time I think I've figured it out, something else comes along to knock me back down. It's a feeling I know too well, trapped. Like no matter how hard I work, no matter how many sacrifices I make, I'll never be able to get ahead. Sometimes, I can't help but wonder if I'll ever be able to breathe without this constant weight hanging over me. But I keep moving, because what else can I do? There are moments when I let myself dream again. I think about the things I wanted to do, the places I wanted to go, the people I wanted to be. But then I snap back to reality and remind myself that dreams are luxuries I can't afford. Not right now. Maybe not ever. But I hold on to them. Not because I believe they'll come true, but because they remind me that there's more to life than just this. Even if I'm stuck, even if things never get better, I don't want to lose the part of me that still dares to imagine something different, something more. And maybe that's enough to keep going. For now, it has to be. I wake up early, just like every other day, the same buzz of my phone dragging me out of bed before the sun has fully risen. The screen flashes, bank balance $1 for 58.17. It's not a terrible number, not enough to send me into a panic, but it feels smaller every time I see it. Yesterday, it was $1 510. Last week, it was $1 600. I'm barely holding on to what I have, but that's the reality of living paycheck to paycheck in this economy. I don't even know when it started to feel like I was always just scraping by. I think about it now, and maybe it's always been this way, just little by little, I started feeling the weight of 100 invisible pressures. Rent is due in 3 days. That's $200 I won't have in my account when the day comes. That's been my life lately, shifting bills around, putting off payments, stretching every dollar to its breaking point. But, of course, things are never just one thing. There's the cost of groceries, which feels like it's doubled over the last few years. I went to the store yesterday to buy some basics, like bread, eggs, and pasta, and spent nearly $40. That's enough to make my stomach twist with the realization that my budget, which was already tight, is now tighter. It's not that I'm buying luxury items, I'm literally just trying to get by with what I have. I can't even fathom treating myself to something small, like a coffee out, without feeling the guilt gnaw at me. This morning, after I check my bank balance, I have to make a decision. Do I get gas or do I eat? I'm not joking. It's a real choice I face every single week. If I fill my tank now, I won't have enough for lunch. If I buy lunch, I'll have to stretch the gas out for a few more days and hope I can get to work without running on empty. I sit on the edge of my bed for a while, staring at the empty space where the decision should be. I choose gas. I always choose gas. Without a car, I can't get to my job, and without a job, I can't get anywhere. After I leave the gas station, I feel that familiar gnawing emptiness in my stomach, but I try not to think about it too much. I'll figure something out. I always do. I've gotten used to this kind of mental gymnastics, the constant balancing act of figuring out how to stretch my income to cover my most basic needs. It's a daily routine, an unspoken, invisible game I play with myself. No one else seems to understand it. No one seems to get how hard it is to stay afloat when the world around you is getting more expensive while your paycheck stays the same. My friends don't seem to struggle with this, or at least they don't talk about it. They're all in different places in their lives. Some are moving to nicer apartments, others are getting engaged or buying cars. Meanwhile, I'm here, trying to make it through the next few days without having to cancel plans or turn down invitations because I simply can't afford to go out. I try to not let it bother me, but some days it feels like I'm drowning in the weight of it all. I'm working hard, trying to build a future, but it doesn't feel like I'm getting anywhere. The thought of saving for anything feels almost laughable. My hopes for the future are locked away in a drawer, somewhere behind all the bills I have to pay. I tell myself, maybe next year I'll be able to afford a vacation or buy a car that actually works or start saving for a down payment on a house. But who am I kidding? If things keep going the way they are, those dreams will stay buried, and I'll just keep going through the motions, counting down the days until my next paycheck, hoping it'll stretch just a little bit farther. I used to have bigger dreams. I used to think I'd finish college, find a fulfilling career, and maybe even travel the world one day. But every time I look at my bank account, I see those dreams slipping further and further away. I feel the weight of it on my chest, the pressure of wanting more but knowing I'm stuck in a system that's out of my control. The cost of living keeps going up, but wages don't seem to keep pace. I can't break out of this cycle. It's like I'm running in place, trying to get ahead, but every time I think I'm making progress, the goalposts move further away. I try to remind myself that I'm not alone in this struggle. Everyone my age seems to be facing the same uphill battle. We're all just trying to make it work, holding on to what we can, hoping for something better, but unsure of when or if it'll ever come. Sometimes I tell myself that maybe this is just the reality now. Maybe I'll never own a home or have the freedom to travel without constantly worrying about money. Maybe the best I can hope for is to survive. That thought scares me, though. I can't imagine living the rest of my life just surviving. I want more than that. But then, there are moments where I feel a glimmer of hope. I have a roof over my head, a job that's steady, and the people in my life who love me. There are days when I sit down with a cup of coffee at home, scrolling through job listings and side gigs, looking for opportunities that might change my situation. I haven't given up on that dream yet, not entirely. I just wish it didn't feel so distant. I wish the horizon wasn't always clouded by bills and expenses and this constant, aching pressure to keep going. I think about the future often, more than I'd like to admit. The future I once imagined, full of possibility, of freedom, of dreams realized, feels more like a shadow now, a fleeting memory of something I thought was within reach. Instead, I'm focused on the present, navigating the storm of rising costs, stagnant wages, and constant worry. I'm not sure how I'll ever escape this loop. Maybe that's the hardest part, to know that, for now, I don't have control. But I keep going, because what else can I do? I get out of bed every day, face the same financial pressures, and hold on to whatever little pieces of hope I can find. I've learned that I have to celebrate the small victories, like getting through a week without panicking about money or not having to take out a payday loan. I tell myself that even though I'm not where I want to be, I'm still moving forward. That's all I can do for now. And maybe, just maybe, one day things will change. Maybe I'll be able to take a deep breath and finally feel the weight of financial pressure lift, even if just for a moment. Until then, I'll keep pushing, keep surviving, and keep dreaming, because what else do I have if not hope? There's a weight I can't seem to shake off. It's always there, pressing down, even when I'm trying to ignore it. Every day, I wake up with the same dread, not from anything specific, but from the knowledge that today will feel like yesterday, and tomorrow will feel like today. Every moment is about surviving, making sure I can cover the bills and maybe, just maybe, squeeze in a moment of peace before the next financial deadline hits. I've always known that adulthood would come with its challenges, but I wasn't prepared for this suffocating sense of being stuck in a loop. Every day, I check my bank account with the kind of dread you'd expect before a test you didn't study for. I try to avoid the notification that says, low balance, like it's some sort of cruel reminder that no matter how hard I work, how many extra shifts I pick up, it's never quite enough. I'm 26, and I feel like I'm drowning in a world that's only getting more expensive. I moved out of my parents' house a couple of years ago, hoping for the independence that everyone promised would feel so freeing. Instead, it's been a constant juggling act. Rent keeps going up. Groceries are double what they were a year ago. Gas prices have skyrocketed. And yet, my paychecks don't seem to keep pace with it all. It's frustrating, to say the least. I find myself asking, how am I supposed to live like this? I try to budget, I really do. I've downloaded the apps, the spreadsheets, the budgeting tools. I keep track of every dollar that goes out, but it never seems to be enough. There's always something, an unexpected expense or an increase in the cost of something I need. I don't even have the luxury of treating myself to small things anymore. That morning coffee? Gone. A spontaneous lunch with friends? Not unless I want to push it onto the credit card. Even something as simple as taking a walk to clear my head comes with the calculation of how much gas I'm using. The constant worry takes a toll on my emotional well-being, too. I used to be someone who could get excited about the future, dreaming of traveling, starting my own business, having a comfortable life. But now, the future feels like a distant, unreachable concept. Every goal I had is being slowly chipped away by the reality of surviving today. It feels like my dreams are running through my fingers, slipping away bit by bit, like water from a broken dam. Some days, I feel like a failure. Like I should be doing better by now. Everyone around me seems to have it together, friends getting promotions, buying homes, traveling to new places. I feel stuck in comparison, like I'm lagging behind, treading water. Sometimes, I'll open Instagram, and I'll see someone my age in a new car or on a vacation in Europe, and the pang of jealousy hits hard. It's not that I want to take anything away from them, I just wish I didn't feel so far behind in my own life. But then, I think about it, and I realize, we're all in the same boat. Some are just better at hiding how much it hurts. Every morning, I remind myself that I'm not alone, even if it feels like I am sometimes. People are struggling with the same thing. They're doing the same calculations, cutting the same corners, finding the same old tricks to stretch a dollar. Still, it's hard not to feel like I'm fighting a battle that I'll never win. It's funny because I used to believe that if I worked hard enough, I'd get ahead. I'd eventually reach a point where I could sit back and breathe, where my bank account wouldn't feel like it was in a constant state of emergency. But that's just not the case. The economic environment today feels like it's designed to keep people in a state of constant hustle. The more you work, the more you need to work to keep up. It's like running on a treadmill that's constantly speeding up, and I'm just barely managing to stay on it. The anxiety doesn't just come from the bills, it's the long-term uncertainty that gnaws at me. Will I ever be able to buy a house? Can I afford to start a family? What if I get sick or something happens and I can't work? These are the things that I lay awake thinking about at night. The stress clings to my skin, leaving me feeling like I'm trapped in a system that doesn't care about me. And no matter how many hours I put in, it's never enough to change my situation. I cope by staying busy. I work extra hours when I can, picking up side gigs here and there, hoping that every little bit adds up. I cut out everything I can, eating out, shopping, fun activities. I get used to saying no to myself, to my friends, and to things I used to enjoy. If I can just make it through this month, maybe things will be easier next month, I tell myself. Maybe the prices will go down. Maybe I'll get a better job. But deep down, I know that's just wishful thinking. I've had to postpone so many dreams. I wanted to travel, see the world outside of this tiny apartment, explore places I've only seen in photos. I wanted to go back to school and get my degree in something I truly care about, but the student loans and the fear of being buried in debt make that feel impossible. And I wanted to save up for a future, maybe even put a down payment on a house, but right now, I'm lucky if I can save enough for a rainy day. The days when I feel like I'm just scraping by, I wonder if I'll ever catch up. If I'll ever have the chance to live the life I dream about. Sometimes, though, I try to hold on to hope. I remind myself that it's okay to feel this way. That I don't need to have everything figured out right now. I remind myself that the struggles I'm going through are real, but they don't define me. It's a hard thing to admit, but there are days when I just need to be gentle with myself. I can't push myself to do everything perfectly. I can't pretend like I have it all together when I don't. The truth is, I'm tired. But I'm also determined to keep going. Even if it feels like a never-ending battle. Even if it feels like no matter how hard I work, the finish line keeps moving farther away. Because maybe, just maybe, that's what life is, keeping your head above water long enough to see the next day. And if I can just make it through today, maybe I'll have a little more strength for tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow won't be the same as today. But for now, I take it one day at a time. I try to appreciate the small things, finding joy in moments where I don't have to think about money. A warm meal, a good conversation with a friend, or the rare opportunity to just breathe without the weight of financial stress. And I remind myself that, even though the future is uncertain, I'm still here. And maybe that's the most important thing. I wake up to my phone buzzing, an email from my bank app. I open it, the balance flashing at me like a bad omen. Another month, and somehow, it's already lower than I thought it would be. I scroll through the notifications, subscription renewals, a few bills coming in, and an alert about an upcoming charge for a credit card I've barely used in the past month. I haven't used it much because I'm terrified of maxing it out again. I know what that's like. The way it feels to not have a cushion, to let payments pile up like dirty dishes that I never seem to get around to washing. My paycheck feels like it's barely enough to cover the basics, and every time I stretch it to cover rent, utilities, groceries, there's just no room left for anything else. I don't know when it started, this sense of always being just behind. Maybe it was right after college when I first entered the workforce. The sense of freedom felt like it was supposed to come with a paycheck, but instead, I found myself with more bills, more responsibilities, and this unshakable anxiety. A good job wasn't supposed to come with this much weight. I should have been able to afford to live comfortably by now, to have a little fun. Instead, I feel stuck. Sometimes, I think back to my dreams, how I wanted to travel, see the world, even just experience something outside of the city, outside of this grind. I used to talk about moving abroad. I had it all planned out. A few years of saving, working a remote job, just getting a good start and then having the freedom to take off. But now, that dream feels like it's been put on ice. The world feels too far away, too expensive. I'm just trying to figure out how to survive the next week, not planning for something as distant as years from now. I think about the nights when I scroll through Instagram or TikTok, seeing people who are doing things I can't. Weekend trips, new apartments, spontaneous nights out. There's this gnawing ache in my chest when I see that, a feeling like I've been left behind. People my age seem to be doing fine, or at least it looks like they are. But it's not fine. It never is. You just can't see the stress behind the picture-perfect moments. I can't even remember the last time I treated myself to something small. A coffee from that nice cafe I used to go to, or a new book that wasn't on sale. It's as if every extra dollar goes into survival, and everything beyond that feels too far out of reach. I go to the store and look at things I don't need but want. Maybe a cute jacket, or that smoothie I've been craving. But when I check my bank account, the numbers don't add up. I can't justify it. Not when I know that in a week, I'll need that extra cushion for an unexpected expense. A car repair, or my phone bill going up yet again because, apparently, they change the rates whenever they feel like it. And then there's rent. It's always the rent. The rent hike this year was brutal. I knew it was coming, but that doesn't mean it was any easier to swallow. I tried looking for cheaper apartments, but everywhere I go, I'm met with the same discouraging reality: nothing is cheaper anymore. Everything's overpriced. So, I just hold my breath and pay the bill, knowing that it'll be another couple of years before I can even think about moving to a place where I might feel more comfortable. I keep telling myself it's okay, that this is temporary. That I'm young, and I'm still figuring it out. But some days, it doesn't feel temporary. It feels like I'm caught in an endless loop, and I wonder if I'll ever really break free. At night, when I try to fall asleep, my mind races with worries. What if my job isn't enough? What if I get sick, or what if something happens to my family and I can't afford to help them? What happens when my student loan payments come up, or if the car breaks down in the middle of the road and I can't afford to fix it? There's always this background noise in my brain, a constant hum of anxiety that won't go away, no matter how much I try to push it aside. I've tried budgeting, but it always feels like I'm playing a game of catch-up. I cut out little luxuries, fancy takeout, streaming subscriptions, any extra purchases, but it's never enough. The rent is always going up, gas prices are skyrocketing, and the cost of groceries is just outrageous. I swear, half the time I go to the store, I look at my cart and think, how did I spend this much just on essentials? I don't talk about it much with my friends because it's hard to explain. People don't seem to get it. Everyone else is dealing with the same pressures, but it's not the kind of thing you can easily voice. I don't want them to pity me, but I also don't want to feel like I'm the only one struggling in silence. So, I smile and pretend everything is fine. I nod when they talk about their latest shopping spree, or when they mention how great it is that they're going on a vacation next month. I say, that sounds amazing, I'm so happy for you, when inside, all I can think is, how are you doing this? Sometimes, I wish there was a simple way to solve it. If I could just get a better paying job, or if the economy wasn't in such a mess, maybe I wouldn't have to live like this. Maybe I could start saving for something more than just survival. But that's not how things work. The cost of living has outpaced wages by so much that it feels like you're fighting an uphill battle. I try to remind myself that I'm not alone in this, that many people are struggling just as I am, but it doesn't always help. On my worst days, I feel like I'm failing. Like I'm not good enough, like I haven't worked hard enough to get ahead. There's a shame in being so financially stretched. I feel guilty when I can't pay off my credit cards or when I have to ask my parents for help again, even though I'm an adult now. I hate having to admit that I'm not as together as I want people to think I am. I keep telling myself that I'll get through it, that there's a way out. But some days, I don't know how. Some days, it feels like there's no way out of the cycle. I dream of the future, of a time when I'm not constantly stressed about money, when I can breathe without feeling like I'm drowning in debt. But when I look at the present, all I see are the bills that won't stop coming, the rising costs that never seem to end. The only thing I can do is hold on. Hold on and hope that things get better. Hope that one day, I'll be able to take that trip or live in an apartment where I don't have to worry every month if I'll be able to make rent. Hope that, maybe, I'll wake up one day and feel a little less anxious, a little more at peace. Until then, I'll just keep going, one day at a time. Because what else can I do? I woke up this morning to the same sound, my phone buzzing with notifications. A reminder from my bank app that my account is low, a few bills trickling in, and one message from work that felt more like a gentle nudge than an actual task. It all hit me with that same suffocating weight I've come to know too well. The air is thick with it, the constant pressure to keep moving, even when I'm barely hanging on. It's not like I didn't know what I was getting into. I graduated a few years ago with hopes of carving out something meaningful for myself. But the world, it seems, had other plans. I went into debt to get the degree, a decision I thought would open doors. And maybe it did, in some small way. I've got a job. A real one, with benefits, even. But no matter how many hours I pour into work, no matter how much extra I try to hustle, Uber, side gigs, whatever I can squeeze in, the balance never tips in my favor. The scale is always uneven. My bills always outweigh my income. The rent, for one thing. I'm living in a cramped apartment that smells faintly of old carpet and takes forever to warm up in the winter. But it's the only place I can afford that doesn't feel like a total downgrade from what I used to think was livable. That's a big deal when you're trying to hold on to any scrap of dignity in a world that tells you your worth is tied to your success and, more importantly, your comfort. I can barely make rent this month. I used to hope for a little extra to put away, maybe into savings, or even something frivolous, like a concert ticket. But I haven't had a real extra 4 months. I've learned to cut corners in ways I never thought I'd have to. Cutting out small pleasures became a survival mechanism. A cup of coffee that I used to grab on the way to work now gets brewed at home, though it never quite tastes the same. I stopped buying clothes I like. I've started wearing the same set of shirts, jeans, and jackets until they're threadbare, just to avoid even the thought of shopping. Social gatherings have become a minefield. If my friends want to go out, I say I'm busy, or I suggest a more affordable alternative, all while wishing I could just enjoy things without calculating the price tag in the back of my mind. It's exhausting. Mentally, emotionally, physically. Some days, I feel like I'm just floating through the motions, my head full of to-do lists and my heart heavy with the thought that this is what life has become. Some days, I feel paralyzed by the weight of everything. My dreams, my aspirations, they all feel so far away, like a distant echo I can't quite reach. I've tried to put my finger on when it all shifted. When I stopped dreaming of something bigger, something more. Maybe it was after the second or third job rejection, where I realized my degree wasn't enough to shield me from the instability. Or maybe it was when I finally sat down and did the math, how much money I actually need to survive versus how much I'm making. It's a sad equation. Every month is a gamble. Can I pay the utilities and still afford groceries? Will my student loan deferment really last? Is it worth sacrificing my mental health just to scrape by? These questions keep me up at night, gnawing at my edges, wearing me thin. The thing about being young in this world, with bills and a degree that hasn't quite landed me a career, is that you're stuck in a loop. A cycle. The wages are barely keeping up with the cost of living, and inflation seems like it's a personal vendetta. I look at people who seem to be living without this constant weight, the ones who take vacations, who buy a new car without worrying about the price. Sometimes, I wonder what it must be like to breathe without this crushing pressure. To look at your bank account and not feel that hollow pit opening up in your stomach. And I know I'm not alone in this. We all talk about it, in hushed tones or through half-laughs that mask the fear. My friends, too, are fighting to stay afloat. One of them works double shifts just to keep her credit card payments up. Another hasn't been able to take a sick day in months for fear of missing out on tips. We talk about the future like it's a place so far away it doesn't matter. Our dreams get smaller with every passing year, not because we've stopped wanting things, but because we've started accepting that maybe we can't have them. But there are days, rare, fleeting moments, when I try to remind myself that maybe this won't last forever. I try to hold on to those slivers of hope, those what-ifs that keep my spirit from completely drowning. Maybe I'll land a job that pays better, maybe I'll pay off my loans and have something left for savings. Maybe one day, I won't have to calculate every dollar, and I'll be able to buy the things I need without asking myself if it's worth the debt it might put me in. I used to dream of traveling, of seeing new places, of being someone who could live freely without the constant weight of financial stress. I used to think that one day, I'd just take a week off and go wherever the wind took me, no calculations, no compromises. But now, when I think of that dream, it feels like a lie I've been telling myself. Maybe that's the hardest part of it all. Realizing that some dreams will remain out of reach for longer than you'd like. Maybe forever. But there's a part of me that keeps pushing, keeps hoping. That part of me tells myself that I can find a way to get out, even if it's just a little bit at a time. The days when I feel truly trapped are the hardest to get through, but they don't last forever. The small moments of peace, of normalcy, of joy, those are the ones I hold on to. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough for now. I don't know what the future holds, or how long I'll be stuck in this financial struggle. But I do know this, I'm not giving up on myself, not yet. Not while there's even a sliver of hope that one day, I'll be able to breathe without feeling the pressure, without worrying if I'll make it through the next month. It's a dream I still hold on to, even if it feels out of reach sometimes. Because if I stop dreaming, then what's left? So, for now, I'll keep moving forward. one step, one day at a time. Because that's all I can do. It's been a while since I felt like I had enough room to breathe. Every day is a balancing act. I wake up with the weight of my financial situation pressing on me before my eyes even open. The numbers, bills, debts, rent, student loans, swirl in my mind like a storm cloud I can't escape. I often wonder how I ended up here, caught in this tight loop where the more I work, the more the world demands of me, and the less I seem to have to show for it. I don't come from money. Growing up, we had what we needed, but just barely. My parents worked hard, always striving to give us a little more than what they had. I watched them struggle, but I never thought I'd be facing the same pressures they did. I thought that with the right degree, with the right job, I'd be able to climb out of that cycle. Now, I see it. The cycle is not as easy to escape as I thought. I'm 24, fresh out of college, with a degree that was supposed to set me up for success. But nothing has panned out the way I imagined. I've been working full-time for almost a year now, in a job I'm grateful for, but it doesn't pay much. Not nearly enough to cover everything, especially when rent keeps rising, groceries cost more every month, and health insurance takes a chunk out of my paycheck. Every time I go to the store, I check the prices like I'm playing a game, hoping something has stayed the same for once. But it doesn't. I can feel the invisible squeeze tightening with every trip. There are days when I stare at my bank account and wonder how I'm going to make it to the end of the month. I don't buy new clothes anymore. I avoid even the smallest splurges, forget going out for drinks with friends. It's not that I don't want to, it's just that I can't afford to. And when I do treat myself to something, a coffee, maybe, or a lunch that isn't just a sandwich, there's always this nagging voice in the back of my head, reminding me that I could be putting that money towards something more important. I should be paying down my credit card. Or putting it toward my student loans that I can already feel getting heavier by the day. I try not to dwell on it, but sometimes I can't help it. I find myself lying awake at night, scrolling through job boards, hoping for a better opportunity. There's this constant whisper of anxiety in my chest, the kind that makes it hard to sleep, hard to think clearly. Every email notification, every new expense, sends a jolt of panic through me. It's this unrelenting feeling that I'm behind, that I'm just not keeping up with life the way I'm supposed to. But the hardest part? The hardest part is watching my friends, who seem to have it all together. They talk about their vacations, their new apartments, their plans to buy homes. Meanwhile, I can barely afford to get my car's oil changed without worrying if I'll be able to make rent that month. It feels like everyone else is playing the game while I'm stuck on the sidelines. I try to stay positive. I try to remind myself that I'm still young, that there's time to figure things out. But it's hard not to feel like I'm falling behind. I've had to postpone so many things I thought I'd have by now. I wanted to take a trip to Europe, to see the world before real life hit too hard. But that's been on hold for over a year. I dream of buying a house one day, of having a space that's mine. But when I look at the market, I don't know if that will ever be a possibility. I wonder if the goalposts keep shifting or if I'm just too late. It's also hard not to feel guilty. I chose a path, didn't I? I could have chosen something different, taken fewer risks. But I wanted to pursue something meaningful, something that would fulfill me. The problem is, I never imagined it would come with this price. I never imagined how much the pressure of living in an economy that feels like it's constantly pushing against me would weigh on my mental health. The emotional toll is the hardest part. It's easy to feel ashamed of where I am, especially when I see how much better others are doing. It feels like a secret I have to keep hidden. People don't talk about money struggles, especially when you're young and supposed to be building your life. It's embarrassing to admit that you're struggling, that you can't keep up. And so, I put on a face. I smile when people ask how I'm doing. I nod when they talk about their achievements. But inside, I feel like I'm suffocating. Sometimes, I wonder if I'll ever be able to break free. I've tried cutting back on everything, subscriptions, eating out, even socializing. But the truth is, no matter how much I trim, it never feels like enough. The world is growing more expensive, and my income just doesn't stretch that far. I try to focus on the small wins. Like when I manage to save a little each month, even though it feels like pennies. Or when I find a good deal on something I need, and I let myself feel proud of getting through a day without dipping into credit. I've learned to be resourceful in ways I didn't think I would ever need to be. I've gotten good at knowing when and where to save, when to say no, when to delay gratification. But it doesn't always feel like enough. And then there are the days when I just want to scream. I want to throw everything away and start over. But I can't. I don't have the luxury of giving up, of walking away. There's no escape. I keep pushing through, keeping my head down, trying to save a little more, trying to make a little more. I try to keep going, even when it feels like there's nothing left to give. I try not to let it consume me, but it does. It takes a toll on everything, my relationships, my mental health, my sense of self. I find myself isolating more and more, because I don't want to be the one who talks about money problems. It feels like no one gets it, like no one can understand how exhausting it is to constantly feel like you're one step away from drowning. But I remind myself that I'm not alone in this. There are so many people out there feeling the same way. So many of us, trying to make it in a world where the cost of living seems to climb every year, while wages remain stagnant. It's a fight that feels endless, but we keep going because what else can we do? I dream of a day when I won't feel trapped by the weight of my financial situation. When I can make a decision based on what I want, not just what I can afford. When I can take that trip I've been dreaming of, or buy a home without drowning in debt. But for now, I take it day by day, one small decision at a time. Because that's all I can do. Just keep going, hoping that someday, somehow, things will get better. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.